Hey you guys, my name is Yuri Choi and I'm so glad you guys decided to join me here today. I want to talk a little bit about something that I broke through this weekend. By the way, if this is the first time that you guys are joining me here on my page, I hope you click subscribe so that y'all can follow me on this journey. Wow, my phone is going crazy right now. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about is the fact that for the longest time, I thought vulnerability equals intimacy. Vulnerability equals intimacy. And, to a certain extent, it's true. But what I'm kind of learning is that vulnerability is the foundation of intimacy. But just because there's vulnerability doesn't mean that there's intimacy. So it's like accessing vulnerability can lead to intimacy, but it doesn't guarantee it. The reason this is important is because I'm a pretty vulnerable person, especially by comparison with the rest of society. I'm pretty open on social media. I'm pretty open when I talk to people, when I'm pretty open on these kind of videos. I'm pretty open. I'm an open book. However, in the last year or so, everything that I've really started to open up about became kind of like my new playground, a comfort zone. So I can talk about all sorts of stuff that I used to think were very vulnerable, but now they don't seem like they're stretching me anymore. It's almost like I know that technically this was at one point vulnerable, but now that it's become like my own comfort zone now, it doesn't feel that way. So, but most people don't know that because, for most people, they're like, wow, you're accessing so much, you're accessing so much courage. You're able to show up really powerfully, vulnerably. But I know, even if no one knows, that there was another layer. Like this became comfortable now, but there was a deeper layer. I wasn't hitting my edge. I knew there was actually more layers that I started to find, yet I wasn't going because for me, I already felt like I was being vulnerable enough that no, I could get by this entire life knowing that most people thought I was a vulnerable person anyway. But for me, there was always that layer that I start to notice. And in that, I start to feel very inauthentic. And I wasn't challenging myself to go deeper. So what came up for me in this last round of this leadership training and emotional intelligence training that I've been in is that there is that other layer. And what I discovered about myself was while I'm very vulnerable, very open with most people, when it actually comes to people in my life that I truly, truly love, that I truly, keep close to my heart, I actually was not as vulnerable. I wasn't going into those dark, dirty corners of my mind to be like, this is who I really am. And these are things that are authentic to me. And sometimes it looked like just simple things that I wasn't expressing. And sometimes it looked like me holding back honest feedback about them that I know that could really help them reach their vision and, just really take their life to the next level. And not from a place of judgment, but from a place of like love. Like, I see this possibility for you, but I wasn't doing that. And the reason I found out through going inward and really understanding like why this is coming up is that there's like this slight fear of abandonment that comes up. When I was young, I started to collect this evidence about, my mom, my dad, the people that I love want to leave me. That's kind of, that's the foundational fear that I was operating from. So for me to become super vulnerable to the point of intimacy with some of the closest people in my life without getting defensive, without any triggers, like that actually was difficult for me. And I didn't even realize this was going on because I have a really easy time when I'm receiving feedback from like, friends or acquaintances, strangers even. It doesn't faze me. But when I received feedback from my closest people, I found myself getting like defensive or triggered. So finding that out was really powerful because I realized that I wasn't having the most honest, authentic conversations with the people that matter the most to me. So, it's interesting because I think intimacy, vulnerability, it's almost like an emotional autoimmune disease because by not participating in talking about our things around intimacy, our things around vulnerability, that's the very thing that's creating the same block of us not being intimate and not being vulnerable. So then, what came up for me is I get to have these really deep conversations with my best friends, with my mom, with my family. And the first thing I got to do is talk about how I have been operating under this fear of abandonment and how that has manifested in my life, in my relationship with them, and how I haven't been authentic with them. So that's what I did. And that's what I started to access. It was eye-opening. It was heart-opening. My heart cracked open this weekend over and over again. I found myself getting really nervous to call my own best friend that I've been best friends for like 15 years, because that to me, speaking my truth about that was scarier than talking to a stranger about it. So as I break through this, a few things are coming up, which is this is the process of me really just releasing that other layer of perfectionism, this other layer of just needing to feel like I have everything figured out, because I don't. I know. And here's the thing I'm going to tell you, which is that if you, spoke with me, if you looked at my social media, if you talked to me, if we've ever engaged in any sort of way, you would categorize me as an open, vulnerable, loving person. And I am all those things. However, the distinction I want to make here is that it wasn't by comparison that I find intimacy. Because compared to a lot of people in this society, in this world, yes, I am very intimate. I am very open. However, for me, intimacy is about being honest with ourselves. Intimacy is about knowing where our true edge is when it comes to speaking our authentic truth and going there, with or without comparison of anybody else. It doesn't matter if by comparison I'm more vulnerable, because if I know that there's another layer that I'm not going to with the people that are close to me or anyone really, then no matter how open I am, I'm being selectively vulnerable, and therefore in that selective vulnerability I can't access that true intimacy. Woo! So and by the way, having these conversations was really healing, by the way. So I talked to some of my best friends and I started to tell them like, hey, there's this fear that if I say anything to really rock the boat, really speak my truth, that I might lose you. And I know it's so irrational. It doesn't even make sense saying this out loud. But this is the process of me opening up more. And, my best friends freaking love them. They're like, Yuri, there's really honestly nothing you can say or do that will threaten this friendship. We're forever. I love you forever. And just to receive that feedback was just so healing, because subconsciously I have been thinking that there is something that I can say that I would lose their connection forever, because again, my childhood story is that a lot of people that I love leave me. So through this process, I was able to start to heal that part of me. I feel more open, vulnerable, and intimate with my best friends than ever before. And most importantly, with myself. So that's really, really, it's such an amazing feeling, because I just feel like I'm being exposed. I'm naked in this world, being like, this is who I am. And to receive love from that place anyway, it is just such a blessing. Like, I feel so, so loved. So anyways, I want to share this experience with you guys. It was such a profound epiphany and growth for me. So I can't wait to, really start to help my clients even more, help people around me even more by being the example of intimacy, by starting to share some of this, and B, really actively helping them get through these kind of breakthroughs that are available through specific tools and specific, experiences that I can take them through. So, anyways, I hope that's helpful, guys. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day out there. Love you guys so much. Have a magical, magical week, and I will talk to you soon. And if you haven't done so already, please feel free to subscribe so you can follow me on this journey of Yuri as she discovers herself so that she can help other people too. And there will be more of it. So, love you guys. Have a beautiful day, y'all. Bye.